Wailing jumped up beside him. "Alvin, where are you going?" she protested. "You heard what the man said. We have got to stay here until the police have searched the stadium." "By then the clues will no longer be fresh," Alvin snorted. He pointed to a door beside the stage. "That should take us round to the dressing rooms." "But Alvin, we can't go backstage," Mars groaned. "We are not allowed." "Investigators can go anywhere," argued Alvin. Then he winked at her. "Anyhow, don't you want to see Romeo's dog up close and personal?" The stadium was deafening. Fans were milling around everywhere, screaming and yelling at one another. Some girls were crying. Alvin grabbed Wailing's hand and dragged her towards the door. "We haven't a moment to lose." The others followed. Alvin had no sooner opened the door and raced to a short flight of stairs to the stage than a huge man in black sweater and jeans blocked his path. "Okay, kid, hold it," growled a voice like gravel. "You can't come back here." Alvin looked up at the solid mass confronting him. The man could have been a wrestler, but his face looked more like a boxer's. His left cheek was scarred and his nose had been broken in two places. His ears looked more like cabbages. "We are investigators," Alvin told him, holding up his card. The bouncer's mouth curved in a nasty smile. "Right now you're a nuisance." He drawled in a thick American accent. Alvin tried to dart past him, but the big man's hands gripped his shirt and lifted him off the ground. Wailing screamed. The man's fist resembled chunks of raw meat. Suddenly a familiar face loomed up behind the bouncer. "It's okay, I know this kid," said Sergeant Sue. The bouncer dropped Alvin and stepped aside, a cheated look on his brutish face. Azizu stared at him and shuddered. He hoped he'd never see him again. Sergeant Sue led Alvin and his team into a corner. The ugly bouncer watched them go before he vanished from sight. The backstage area was in turmoil. Uniformed police swarmed everywhere, rounding up the stadium staff. The concert crew was being searched and questioned. Cables and equipment had been pushed aside. Bodyguards were clustered around the three dressing room doors marked with purple stars. "Looks like you won't get to see the concert," the sergeant grunted, his walkie-talkie squawking continuously. Alvin straightened his shirt. "That's why we came backstage," he explained. "We wanted to help solve the mystery." Sergeant Sue shook his head. "This time you can't. It's not a robbery or anything like that. An American citizen had disappeared. I've got the international media coming down. CNN, BBC, and MTV, and I've got the American ambassador on his way." His brow furrowed with worry. "And to make matters worse, I was in charge of the police unit covering the concert." "But Sergeant Sue," Alvin pleaded, "we've got a good track record. You said so yourself." "And we're Romeo Dogs fans," insisted Mas. "We know more about them than you do. And we can see the mystery from a young point of view," Cinchita told him. "Not that you're old or anything," she added hastily with a smile. Sergeant Sue lifted his hand in protest. "I know you're a good detective, but this is different. Think how it looked on the news if you were seen investigating a case with us. Millions of people around the world are going to think our police force can't handle a simple disappearance by ourselves." But Sergeant Sue, Azizu asked, what if it isn't a simple disappearance? Sergeant Sue's eyes narrowed warily. What do you mean? Well, Romeo's dog is the hottest pop group in the world, Azizu replied. They must be worth millions. What if it's a kidnapping case? Great thinking, Azizu. Elvin slapped him on the back, but Sergeant Sue rolled his eyes. There's nothing about the case that makes it a kidnapping, he snapped. He beckoned one of the uniformed officers to escort them back to the hall. I promise I'll keep you informed, he said, but right now I haven't got time to talk. As they stepped back into the stadium, a knot of friends from their school pressed forward. Sung Le Jun, Yo-Yo To, Emil Go, Xiu Ziting, and Joseph Hu were firing questions at Alvin. Where's Romeo? What's happening? Then Ranford Sear leapt forward. Hi Alvin, are you on the case? He wanted to know. Wow, shouted Le Jun. What really happened? You got to tell us. Ziting begged him. Yo-Yo looked pale. Alvin, where's Romeo? He's not dead, is he? Alvin pushed past them. No comment, he said. We can't make any statement at this stage. Early next morning at Alvin's headquarters, the investigators gathered to review the case. As we all know, it's located behind his mother's jewelry shop. Once it had been the storeroom, but she let Alvin take it over for his detective club. Now the cramped concrete walled space looked more like a police squadron. Whaling's collection of criminal records bulged in box files stacked on a shelf. Photographs of sinister criminals stared down from the wall behind her desk. The room had its own entrance into a car park. On a small window by the door was a big sign designed by Mas Wang on her computer. It announced so and told investigators. We investigate anything, no case too big or too small. The central desk that everyone shared was an old wooden table where Alvin was examining the morning newspaper stories about Romeo's disappearance. He thought some of the stories were very nasty. One headline screamed, Romeo roams, deserts his friends. Another taunted, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou? What a shame we weren't allowed to go back to their dressing room, he muttered bitterly, flicking over the pages. We might have cracked the case by now. And what's worse, Azizu complained, the school holidays end next week, so we don't have any time to waste. He kept fiddling with his cap, much to Whaling's secret annoyance. She thought it was a silly habit. One day she told herself she'd toss his cap out the window. Rafe paced up and down. I've been thinking, he announced. Things aren't as bad as they look. The police would have found any clues that were lying around at the stadium. So we should start thinking about the clues they haven't found. What sort of clues? Whaling looked up sharply from where she was pasting newspaper stories about Romeo's disappearance into her incident book. In the background, Cinchita's radio was playing Romeo's dog singing their biggest hit single, Girl, Do You Still Want Me? Rafe stopped pacing and looked at her. Well, we weren't allowed to go to the dressing rooms, but what about the hotel? Sergeant Sue didn't say anything about not going there. Rafe leapt up. Rafe, you're a genius. He stroked his pointed chin while he thought about it. Isn't that what they call lateral thinking? Cinchita examined her nails. We'll never get near their room, she groaned in a bored voice. There'll be police and bodyguards and reporters all over the place. Azizu jumped up and bowed, and there'll be room service waiters. Then Mars leapt up and curtsied, and housemaids and cleaners. She pranced across to Rafi. Are you enjoying your stay, sir? May I check your room, sir? Does your bin need emptying, sir? Can I toss you down the toilet, sir? You're both crazy, giggled Sinchita, but so cute. That's why we're such a hot team, yelled Alvin, a grin lighting his face. Yo, and he ran across and high-fived them. Wailing watched in disgust. The small muscle in her cheek, the one near her beauty spot, began twitching. It always did when she was upset. It's ridiculous. If we get caught trying to get into their room. Simple, Alvin interrupted her with a snap of his fingers. We don't get caught, okay?